Good morning, good morning, good morning. Do you like the intro? How are you today? If you haven't been here before, then welcome along. My name's Ken. It's 10, and that's why it's Ken at 10. Hope you're having a good day. We're estate agents based in southwest London, situated between Streatham and Croydon. And we sell and let properties and things like that. So I hope you're having a good day. Had my jab yesterday, hence the picture behind. And look, there it is. That little badge there telling everyone that I've actually had my first jab. Aches a bit for me. Feel like I'm hungover and didn't have a single drop to drink, but it was really quite emotive actually. You know, seeing everyone there, the army, the NHS, it really did feel like a real sort of ray of light. You know, everyone kind of, all the volunteers, the army guys there, the nurses, it just made you proud to be British really. It was quite amazing, and I was quite moved by it all. And I just think, wow, how lucky we are in this country to have those kind of services and to be ahead of the rest of the world. So on to the property headlines today. The ONS, this is the Office for National Statistics. They're talking about house prices defying suffering economy during the pandemic. This is interesting. Despite most other sectors suffering in 2020, house prices bucked the trend by increasing while the economy shrank, according to a new Office for National Statistics report assessing the damage done by COVID-19. The average UK house price reached a record high of 252,000 in December 2020. That's an increase of 8.5% over the year, the ONS said. The surge in house buying at the end of 2020 may reflect the pent-up demand from people who've been unable to buy during the lockdown, and changes to the types of property people wanted. You know, gardens, we've said this for a long time now, gardens have been really sought after, outside spaces at a premium massively, and also offices, both garden offices and rooms that you can use as an office in the house too. Lots of requests for those. The ONS said the difference between 2008 and 2020 could be because the former crisis was largely related to structural issues with financing mortgages, whereas the fall in GDP in 2020 was possibly driven more by reduced opportunities to spend. And, you know, that is an interesting point. That's an article in the Daily Telegraph and the Daily Star. But one of the things that I noticed that's always been on my mind is since the lockdown, savings have actually increased. They've gone from 50 billion in the UK to 150 billion. That's a wedge of money sitting there, isn't it? And it'd be interesting to see how much of that releases into the property market as things pick up. The other thing is, this is an article in the Daily Star. Sellers urged to list property by March the 23rd to benefit from the tax holiday. Well, that's if you want to make the second deadline of the end of September. But if you want to make the first one, then you need to get a wriggle on. Get on it now, because actually you're already late. There's not much time now, because we have two deadlines. We've got the June deadline. The end of June, you've got to be sold by if you want to take advantage and save 15,000. And then we've got the September deadline, where the stamp duty threshold from when you start to pay it has been taken from 125 up to 250. So if you're buying up to 250,000, then you need to get a wriggle on by then if you're not a first-time buyer. Of course, if you're a first-time buyer, you don't pay stamp duty up to the first 350 anyway. So there's nil impact as far as first-time buyers are concerned on these things. And here in London, prices are so high anyway that the tiered effect of this won't really be felt to any great degree. The significant deadline is June. The other deadline, the idea is that it'll stage it and step it rather than one cliff edge like before. But of course, here in London, there just isn't that much property for sale at 250,000. So although it will be a slight relief, we're talking about a couple of thousand as opposed to 15,000. So it really is slight. So how are you today? Hope you're having a good day. Here in SW16, the weather is quite bright, actually. Some white fluffy cloud around, and busy days today on valuations. Had an interesting Homes Under the Hammer yesterday, one where the block had all sorts of complications. They'd saved up loads of money, and then that money had to be expended because they had what we call a waking watch. This is where it's a very common thing now since the EWS1 and Grenfell, where you have to employ guards effectively to walk around the block at all times of day and night to see if there's any fire so that they can raise the alarm. And it's vastly expensive because we've got 3 different employees per day, 8-hour shift, 3 people, 24 hours. And that's assuming you only need 1. So these things can be vastly expensive. And what happened in this particular case with the block was that they ended up spending all the money that they save for the windows on the waking watch because they had to do some other works which came up. So you really do need to do your research when looking at flats specifically as to what's been done, what's coming up, and how it's being managed. That's the real critical thing, is how is that block being managed? Is it improving? Is there a light at the end of the tunnel? Does it look like a quagmire of on and on with different things that need doing for the next 10 years or so? And then you have to bear in mind, you've got to, think about what your offer will be, because the level of service charge will directly impact on the price. Now, sometimes with that service charge, if you can see what you're getting for the money, i.e. if it's got a concierge, a gym, some other facilities, maybe a pool, then you can see that's going to cost extra on your service charge. But it's also really cool, and you can get why the service charge would therefore be higher. It's the ones where you get none of those facilities, but also a very high service charge that you've got to think, well, hang on a minute. There are even some blocks where, believe it or not, you have the water is heated communally, or some of the heating is done communally. So it's great if you're an elderly person sat at home all day, but actually if you're out at work all day, you're paying for somebody else's heating. So that can be a frustration as well, and can lead to a huge raise in the cost of charges. So one to look out for. So I hope you're having a good day today, and we'll be back same time tomorrow with another Ken at 10. Until then, stay safe, look after your families, and have a fantastic day.